The red emergency lights bathed the command center in an eerie glow. Captain Daeho Kim stood before the main screen, his dark eyes fixed on the strange signal that had appeared 30 minutes ago. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by the soft blue light of their displays. "Play it again," Daeho said quietly. Lieutenant Hyeri Choi pressed a button. The speakers crackled to life, filling the room with sounds that seemed like static at first. But underneath the noise, there was something else. A pattern. A rhythm. A voice crying out across the vast darkness of space. Hyeri had been working on the translation for hours. Her fingers moved across her keyboard, adjusting algorithms and comparing the signal to thousands of known languages. Sweat beaded on her forehead, despite the cool air in the command center. "I have something," she said suddenly. "The translation is rough, but I can make out the important parts." Daeho moved to stand behind her chair. "Show me." Words appeared on her screen, flickering as the translation program worked. "Please, anyone. They are killing us. We are peaceful. Please help. They will not stop. Our children. Please." The command center fell silent. Even the constant hum of the machines seemed to quiet. Daeho felt something cold settle in his chest. "Where is this coming from?" he asked. "Outer Rim," Hyeri replied. "Beyond the Kepler expanse. It is a region we have never explored. The signal has been traveling for weeks." Sergeant Minho Park looked up from his station. He was a large man with scarred hands and a face that had seen too many battles. "That is deep space, Captain. We have no jurisdiction there." "No one has jurisdiction there," Corporal Jiwon Lee added. She was younger than the others, but her voice carried the weight of someone who had seen suffering. "The galactic treaties forbid intervention in conflicts outside our borders." Daeho turned away from the screen. He walked to the large window that looked out over Mars. The red planet turned slowly below them, peaceful and quiet. But his mind was millions of miles away, thinking of whoever had sent that desperate message. "What do we know about that sector?" he asked. Hyeri pulled up a star map. "Very little. There are several inhabited systems, but most species there avoid contact with the wider galaxy. They keep to themselves. Until someone decides to destroy them," Minho said grimly. The door to the command center opened. Admiral Youngman Seo entered, his uniform crisp despite the late hour. He was an older man with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "I received your report," Youngman said. "You want to respond to this distress call?" "Yes, sir," Daeho replied. Youngman studied him for a long moment. "The other species in the galaxy have a policy. They do not interfere. They say it prevents larger wars. They say it maintains order," Hyeri added quietly. "Order," Daeho repeated. The word tasted bitter. "Is it order when innocents die while others watch?" Youngman walked to the window. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he spoke. Ghost Protocol was created for situations exactly like this. Situations where the rules prevent us from doing what is right. Daeho felt his heart beat faster. Ghost Protocol. The unit that officially did not exist. The team of operators so skilled that most people thought they were just a rumor. "Assemble your team," Youngmin said, turning to face him. "You leave in 6 hours. Retrieve whoever sent that signal. And if someone is hunting them," he paused, "show them why humans are different." Daeho saluted. "Yes, sir." 5 hours later, Daeho stood in the hangar bay watching his team prepare. Minho checked weapons with the calm efficiency of a man who had done it 1,000 times. Jaewon organized medical supplies, her hands moving quickly. Hyeri loaded communication equipment and translation programs. 2 more operators joined them. Sun Woo-han, their reconnaissance specialist, moved like a shadow. He rarely spoke, but his eyes saw everything. Yuna Song, their technology expert, was already hacking into the ship's systems to improve their stealth capabilities. "We do not know what we will find out there," Deho told them. "We do not know who's attacking these people or why, but someone called for help, and we are going to answer. The other species will say we are foolish," Sunwoo said softly. "Let them," Minho replied, checking his rifle one more time. "Being foolish is better than being heartless." The ship waiting for them was called the Silent Horizon. It was black as space itself, covered in technology that made it almost invisible to sensors. It was fast, deadly, and completely illegal by most galactic standards. Humans had built it anyway. As they boarded, Deho looked back at Mars one last time. He thought about the message still playing in his mind. The fear in those alien voices, the desperation. The galaxy had rules. The galaxy had treaties and policies and agreements about non-interference. But humanity had something else. Humanity had a history of running toward danger instead of away from it, of answering calls that others ignored. The Silent Horizon's engines powered up with a low hum. Hyeri sat at communications, already working to track the exact source of the signal. Yuna prepared their stealth systems. Minho and Sunwoo checked their weapons one final time. Ji-won organized her medical bay. Deho sat in the captain's chair and looked at the stars ahead. "Take us out," he ordered. The ship lifted smoothly from the hangar and accelerated toward the darkness. Behind them, Mars grew smaller. Ahead, somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, someone was dying. Someone was calling for help. And for the first time in their history, they would learn what it meant when humans heard that call. The planet looked dead from orbit. Deho watched the main screen as the Silent Horizon circled the world they had traveled 3 weeks to reach. The surface showed signs of cities, but no light shone. No signals transmitted. Only smoke rising from dozens of locations. Life signs? He asked. Yuna studied her sensors carefully. Scattered. Very few. Most concentrated in one location underground. She paused. But there are also other signatures. Different biology. They are still on the surface. "The attackers," Minho said, his hand already moving toward his weapons. Hyeri enhanced the visual feed. The ruins of a city appeared on screen. Buildings had been knocked down. Streets were filled with debris. And there were bodies. So many bodies. G1 made a small sound. Even she, who had seen war, looked disturbed. "The survivors are in shelter systems beneath the northern continent," Yuna reported. "But the hostile forces are searching, moving in patterns, hunting." Deho felt anger begin to build in his chest. This was not war. This was extermination. "How many hostiles?" he asked. 200. Maybe more. "They are spread across the search grid." "And how many survivors?" Yuna's voice became quieter. 50, perhaps less. Deho stood. "Prepare for insertion. We go in quiet. Find the survivors. Extract them. Sunwoo, I want full reconnaissance before we engage." "Already on it," Sunwoo replied, checking his gear. They dropped from orbit in stealth pods. The pods were small, cramped, and designed to avoid all detection. Deho felt his stomach lurch as they fell through the atmosphere, but he kept his mind focused on the mission. They landed in a forested area 10 kilometers from the underground shelters. The moment Deho stepped out of his pod, he smelled it. Smoke. Burning. Death. Sunwoo moved ahead, silent as a ghost. The rest of the team followed in tactical formation. Minho took point with his heavy rifle. Ji-won stayed in the center with her medical pack. Hyeri and Yuna carried lighter weapons, but their real value was in their equipment. The forest was beautiful. Purple leaves grew on tall trees. Strange flowers bloomed despite the destruction nearby. But as they moved closer to the city, the beauty died. Trees were burned. The ground was scorched. And then they saw the first bodies. The aliens were called Velhari, according to Hyeri's research. They were tall and slender with 4 arms and large eyes. They looked fragile, peaceful. The body showed signs of torture. Jiwan knelt beside one. "This one was alive when they burned it," she said quietly. This was not quick. Daeho felt his jaw tighten. "Keep moving," Sunwoo signaled from ahead. Daeho moved up to join him. Through his scope, he could see the entrance to the underground shelter. And he could see the creatures guarding it. They were massive. 3 meters tall with thick armor-like skin. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. But what struck Daeho most was how they moved. They were not standing guard with alertness. They were laughing, playing. One of them held something small and was tossing it to another. Daeho enhanced his scope and felt his blood turn cold. It was a Velhari child's toy. "They are enjoying this," Sunwoo whispered Doc before Daeho could respond. The shelter door opened. 2 Velhari emerged, their hands raised. They were trying to surrender. The creatures grabbed them. What happened next made Daeho look away, but he forced himself to watch, to remember. "Captain," Minho said. His voice was shaking with rage. "Orders." Daeho was about to respond when movement caught his eye. A small Velhari, a child no more than waist-high, ran from the shelter. Perhaps trying to escape. Perhaps running to parents already dead. One of the creatures raised its weapon. Daeho did not think. They aimed and fired. The weapon made almost no sound, but the creature's head exploded. The second creature turned, confused, and Minho's shot took it down. The third tried to raise an alarm, but Sunwoo's bullet was faster. "Move," Daeho ordered. They reached the shelter in seconds. The Velhari child stood frozen in fear. Jiwan knelt and spoke softly, her translator working. "We are here to help. We heard your call." The child's large eyes filled with tears. More Velhari emerged from the shelter, terrified and confused. An older one approached. Its translator was better than the child's. "You came," it said. "We sent the message, but we thought—" Everyone ignores screams in this part of space. "We are human," Daeho said. "We do not ignore screams." The Velhari's name was Thurin. It was a scientist. It explained everything quickly. The Kroth had come 3 months ago. At first, the Velhari thought it was first contact. They offered peace, offered trade. The Kroth responded by destroying their orbital defenses and landing armies. "But they do not just kill," Thurin said, its voice breaking. "They hunt. They torture. They laugh. They say we are weak and weakness deserves pain. They are hunting the last of us for sport." Hyeri was listening to Kroth communications. "There are more coming. A patrol, 20 of them. They will be here in 10 minutes. Daeho looked at his team. "We need to send a message." "What kind of message?" Yuna asked. "The kind that predators understand." Daeho turned to Minho. "You said you wanted to show them something. Show them what happens when humans protect the weak." Minho smiled. It was not a kind smile. The Kroth patrol arrived exactly on time. They moved with confidence, weapons lowered, laughing among themselves. They expected no resistance, thought they found none. At first. Then, the forest came alive. Sunwoo's shots dropped 3 before they could react. Minho's heavy fire cut down 5 more. Yuna had hacked their communications, filling their helmets with static and screams. They could not coordinate, could not call for help. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Daeho moved through the chaos with cold precision. These creatures had tortured innocents, had hunted children, had laughed while beings begged for mercy. He felt no pity. When it was over, 19 Kroth lay dead. 1 remained alive, wounded but conscious. Daeho stood over it. "You came to this world to hunt," he said, knowing its translator would work. "Now you know what it feels like to be prey. Go back to your people. Tell them that humanity has arrived. Tell them that we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Tell them that if they continue this, we will show them what real predators look like." He let it go. Let it limp back to its ship. Durin watched with wide eyes. "You saved us. But there are thousands of Kroth in this sector. They will come for revenge." "Let them come," Deho said. "We will be ready." They evacuated all 53 survivors to the silent horizon. As the ship lifted from the dead world, Jiwan treated the wounded. Many would have scars. All would have nightmares, but they would live. Deho stood on the bridge and looked at the planet growing smaller below. Somewhere on that world, a Kroth survivor was reporting what had happened. Soon, the Kroth would know that something new had entered their space. Something that did not follow the galaxy's rules about non-interference. Something that answered calls for help. Hyeri approached him. "The other species will condemn us for this." "Probably," Deho agreed. "Was it worth it?" Deho looked at the refugees. At the child Jiwan had saved. At Durin, who was crying tears of relief. "Yes," he said. "Yes, it was." The Kroth War Council met in their fortress station above their home world. Commander Vorak stood at the center of the chamber, his massive frame radiating fury. Around him, the other commanders watched the recording for the third time that it showed the survivor from the Volhari world. It showed his wounds. It showed his fear. And it showed him delivering the human message. "This species," Vorak growled, "dares to threaten us? We who have conquered 50 worlds. We who are the apex predators of this sector." "They killed 20 warriors without losing a single fighter," another commander noted. "Perhaps caution is," Vorak's roar silenced him. "Caution is for prey. We are Kroth. I will send 3 war fleets to their home system. We will teach them what happens when lesser species interfere with our hunts." The order went out within the hour. 300 Kroth warships began their journey toward human space. Vorak was certain this would be quick. Humans were small. They had no records in galactic databases. They were nothing. He could not have been more wrong. Meanwhile, Deho stood in the command center watching as Hyeri worked. She had taken the Volhari distress call and amplified it, enhanced it, and now she was broadcasting it across every galactic channel that existed. "Are you certain about this?" Admiral Youngmin asked. "This will make what we did very public." "Good," Deho replied. "Let every species see what the Kroth do. Let them see what happens when no one answers calls for help." The broadcast went live. Within hours, billions of beings across the galaxy heard the Volhari's desperate pleas. They heard the screams. They heard the fear. And they saw footage that Sunwoo had captured of Kroth atrocities. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Most species condemned humanity for interfering, but their words rang hollow when placed beside images of dead Volhari children. Some species said nothing, but they watched, and they remembered who had answered when others looked away. Una detected the Kroth fleets 2 days before they arrived. 300 ships, she reported. Heavy battle cruisers. They are not trying to hide. They think this will be easy, Minho said. They think we are weak. Admiral Youngman studied the tactical display. Major Yunji, what are our defenses? Major Yunji Kang stood at her station, her face calm despite the approaching threat. We have 40 ships in position, orbital defense platforms, and the asteroid field between us and them. Not nearly enough for a conventional battle, Youngman said. So we will not fight conventionally. The Kroth fleets arrived at the outer markers of human-protected space with confidence. Vorak had taken personal command from his flagship. He expected the humans to surrender or run. Instead, they found empty space. No ships, no defenses, nothing. They fled, Vorak laughed. The prey has run. Then the first mine detonated. It had been hidden in an asteroid, waiting. The explosion ripped through a Kroth battlecruiser, breaking it in half. Before Vorak could react, 20 more mines activated across the fleet. Evasive action. Vorak roared, but the mines were not the only surprise. The asteroids themselves began to move. Yuna had hacked the mining drones that humans used in this sector. Now those drones pushed massive rocks directly into the Kroth formation. Ships scattered, breaking their attack pattern. And that was when the human fleet appeared. 40 ships against 300 seemed like suicide. But the human ships moved like nothing the Kroth had seen. They were fast, agile, using the asteroids for cover. They did not fight with honor or formation. They fought like wolves hunting. Major Yunji coordinated the orbital strikes. Target the flagship's engines. I want it crippled, not destroyed. Precision fire lanced from human destroyers. Vorak's ship shuddered as its main engines exploded. His ship began to drift, vulnerable. Meanwhile, Sunwoo led a team of saboteurs to a Kroth weapons facility on a nearby moon. They moved through the shadows, avoiding patrols. Yuna had provided them with codes to bypass security. Inside the facility, Kroth technicians worked on building more ships. They never saw the humans enter. Never realized their computer systems were being rewritten. Never knew that in 30 minutes, their entire base would tear itself apart when the sabotage reactors overloaded. The explosion was visible from orbit. An entire Kroth military production facility simply ceased to exist. Back in the space battle, the Kroth were learning a terrible lesson. Humans did not fight fair. They used tactics that Kroth considered dishonorable. Sacrificial drones that rammed into larger ships. Gravity mines that crushed vessels. Weapons that targeted life support instead of shields. And they talked. Hayeri broadcast on all Kroth frequencies. She showed them their own atrocities. Showed them the Velhari children they had murdered. Showed them what they truly were. You call yourselves predators, her message said. But predators hunt for survival. You hunt for pleasure. You are not predators. You are monsters. And humanity has faced monsters before. The Kroth fleet began to falter. They had never retreated before. Never known defeat. But now, with 30 of their ships destroyed and more damaged. With their weapons facility gone and their flagship crippled. They faced a choice. Die with honor or live with shame. Vorak screamed orders to regroup and attack. But his commanders hesitated. The humans were too unpredictable. Too dangerous. And worst of all, they made the Kroth feel something new. Fear. One by one, the Kroth ships began to withdraw. Vorak watched in disbelief as his fleet abandoned the battle. His own crew looked at him with doubt in their eyes. Humans had done the impossible. They had made the Kroth afraid. As the enemy fleet retreated, Deho watched from the silent horizon. Around him, his team looked exhausted but satisfied. They will be back, Hayeri said quietly. I know, Deho replied. But next time, they will hesitate. Next time, they will remember this moment. Admiral Youngman's voice came over the communication system. Those protocol, return to base. You have done well. But Deho was already thinking ahead. The Kroth had retreated, but Vorak would not accept this defeat. Men like him never did. This war was not over. Across the galaxy, other species had watched the battle. They had seen humans defend the Volhari, had seen humans defeat a numerically superior force. And they began to whisper, there was a new power in the galaxy, a species that did not follow the rules, a species that answered calls for help, even when it was foolish to do so. Humanity had announced itself. and the galaxy would never be the same. On his damaged flagship, Vorak stared at the stars. He had never lost before, never retreated, never felt fear. But now he understood something terrible. The humans were not like other species. They did not value their own lives above all else. They did not calculate odds before acting. They simply did what they believed was right, regardless of cost. That made them the most dangerous enemy Vorak had ever faced. "Prepare all forces," he ordered his remaining commanders. "We will return. And this time, we will not underestimate them." But in his heart, for the first time in his long life, Vorak wondered if victory was possible. The humans had shown him fear. And fear, once learned, is impossible to forget. The Velhari refugee ships floated in formation around the human station. 50,000 survivors. That was all that remained of a species that once numbered in the billions. Dao watched them from the observation deck, feeling the weight of that responsibility. Elder Marith approached him slowly. The old Velhari moved with difficulty, injuries from the Kroth attacks still healing. "Your people have given us shelter," Marith said through the translator. "You have given us hope. We can never repay this debt." "There is no debt," Deho replied. "You asked for help. We answered. That is what humans do." Marith's large eyes studied him. "The other species do not think like this. They say you are dangerous, unpredictable." "Maybe we are," Deho admitted. "But we would rather be dangerous than cruel." An alarm interrupted them. Deho ran to the command center where Yuna was already working frantically at her station. "Kroth forces," she reported. "Multiple fleets. They are not coming just for us. They are invading human territory. 12 colonies are under attack." Admiral Youngman appeared on the main screen. "Vorak has committed everything. This is total war. He means to destroy us completely." Deho felt his blood run cold. This was what he had feared. The Kroth were not just attacking military targets. They were going after civilians. "What are our forces?" he asked. "Spread thin," Youngman replied. "We can defend maybe half the colonies. The others—" He did not finish the sentence. Commander Taiyang Shin stepped forward. He was a specialist in psychological warfare, a man who understood how to break enemy will without firing a shot. "Perhaps we do not need to defend everywhere," Taiyang said quietly. "Perhaps we need to make the Kroth destroy themselves." "Explain," Youngman ordered. Taiyang pulled up information on Kroth society. "Dr. Sora has been studying their culture. Tell them what you found." Dr. Sora Bay, a xenobiology expert, activated a presentation. The Kroth have a rigid caste system. Every Kroth's rank is determined by combat victories. Defeats lower your status. Too many defeats and you become an outcast, lower than slaves. "So?" Minho asked. "So their entire society depends on never losing," Sora explained. "We have already given them defeats. Vorak's commanders are already questioning him. If we can give them more defeats, make them fight each other." She smiled. "We can make them tear themselves apart." Deho understood immediately. "We do not just fight them. We break them." The plan was dangerous. It required precision. And it required Ghost Protocol to do what they did best. Yuna hacked into Kroth communications and began planting false messages. Orders from Vorak that contradicted each other. Reports of victories that never happened. Accusations of cowardice directed at loyal commanders. Taiyang broadcast footage of Kroth defeats on their own networks. Images of their ships burning. Their warriors fleeing. He made sure every Kroth saw their species losing to the humans they had considered weak. Meanwhile, Sunwoo led infiltration teams onto Kroth command ships. They did not sabotage engines or weapons. Instead, they changed navigation data, tampered with targeting systems. made it so Croth ships would accidentally fire on each other. The first friendly fire incident happened within days. A Croth destroyer, its targeting computers corrupted, fired on its own flagship. The flagship's automated defenses fired back. Within minutes, 6 Croth ships were fighting each other while the humans watched. Vorak tried to maintain order, but his commanders were already doubting him. The gas system that had made the Croth strong was now destroying them from within. Commanders blamed each other for defeats. Lower castes refused to follow orders from leaders who had lost battles. The Croth invasion began to fall apart, but there were still battles to fight. Deho took Ghost Protocol to a human colony world under siege. They found Croth warriors attacking civilian shelters. The fighting was brutal. Minho's heavy weapons tore through Croth lines. Sunwoo picked off commanders with surgical precision. Ji-won worked desperately to save wounded civilians while fighting raged around her. During the battle, they captured wounded Croth. Ji-won did something that shocked everyone. She treated them, applied medical care to enemy soldiers who had been trying to kill her minutes before. The Croth prisoners watched in confusion. In their culture, wounded enemies were left to die or finished off. Mercy was weakness. But Ji-won showed them mercy anyway. Why? One of the Croth asked through a translator. Why save enemy? Because you art, Ji-won replied simply. And I am a doctor. I heal people who are hurt. The concept was alien to them. Incomprehensible. But it planted a seed of doubt. If humans showed mercy even to enemies, what did that mean? Were the Croth the monsters in this war? News of this spread through Croth ranks. Some called it propaganda, but others began to question. Vorak grew desperate. His entire invasion was collapsing. His commanders fought among themselves. His warriors questioned their purpose. He made a final decision. He would personally lead an attack on the human command station. He would kill Admiral Youngman. He would destroy Ghost Protocol. And he would restore Croth honor. Deho received intelligence about the attack 12 hours before it happened. He could have evacuated, could have called for reinforcements. Instead, he prepared a trap. When Vorak's flagship arrived with its escort, it found the station seemingly defenseless. Vorak brought his personal guard and boarded. They fought through corridors, meeting light resistance. Too light. They reached the command center where Deho waited alone. Where are your warriors? Vorak demanded. They are protecting civilians, Deho replied calmly. I am enough for you. Vorak laughed. He was 3 times Deho's size, covered in natural armor. He had killed hundreds in personal combat. This would be easy. The fight was not easy. Deho was smaller, but faster. He had studied Croth physiology, knew their weak points. He used weapons designed specifically to pierce their armor. But Vorak was experienced and strong. They fought through the command center, destroying equipment. Vorak landed blows that would have killed most beings. Deho kept fighting. Finally, Deho found an opening. His blade penetrated Vorak's armor, piercing deep. The Croth commander fell to his knees, bleeding. Deho stood over him, weapon ready to finish it. Vorak waited for death. It was what he would have done, but Deho lowered his weapon. You have lost, Deho said. But I will not kill you. Not because you deserve mercy, but because I want you to return to your people. I want you to tell them what happened here. Tell them that humans are stronger than Croth. Tell them that we showed mercy even when you showed none. Tell them that if they continue this war, we will win. Not through cruelty, but through being better than you. Vorak stared at him. In Croth culture, this was the ultimate humiliation. To be defeated and then spared. To be shown mercy by a species he had called weak. His rank would be destroyed. His honor gone. Everything he had built would crumble. But worse than that, he would have to live with the knowledge that humans were right. They were better. Deho let Vorak's guards carry him back to his ship. Let them retreat. Let them tell the story of what happened. Within days, the entire Kroth invasion collapsed. Vorak's humiliation became known throughout their empire. Commanders turned on each other. The caste system broke. Civil war erupted among the Kroth as different factions fought for control. Admiral Youngman contacted Deho. They are suing for peace. The Kroth High Council wants to negotiate. What terms? Deho asked. Complete withdrawal from this sector. Reparations to the Volhari. And they want to include a clause. They will never attack humans again. Deho looked at the refugee ships. At the Velhari who had lost everything but still lived because humans had answered their call. I accept the terms, he said. But make sure they understand. If we ever hear of them hunting innocents again, we will return. And next time, we will not show mercy. The war was over. Humanity had won. But Deho felt no joy in it. Too many had died. Too much had been lost. Still, as he watched the Velhari celebrating their survival, he knew it had been worth it. They had done what others would not. They had answered the call. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as Ambassador Nari Yoon walked to the central platform. Around her, representatives from 200 species watched. Some with curiosity. Some with fear. Some with barely hidden anger. The chairman, a being made of crystalline structures that refracted light, spoke in a voice like chimes. Ambassador Yoon, your species has been summoned to answer for violations of the non-interference accords. You intervened in a conflict outside your borders. You engaged in warfare with the Kroth Empire. You disrupted the established order of this galaxy. Nari stood calmly. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen much. I acknowledge that we intervened. I acknowledge that we fought. But I do not acknowledge that we were wrong. Angry voices erupted from various representatives. The chairman called for silence. The accords exist to prevent larger wars. The chairman continued. By interfering, you could have caused a galactic conflict. Could have, Nari repeated, but did not. Instead, we saved 50,000 innocents from extinction. We stopped a species that was committing genocide for entertainment. And we established that such behavior will not be tolerated, even in the outer sectors. A reptilian delegate stood. You established that humans think they are above galactic law. You are dangerous, unpredictable. You disregard rules that have maintained peace for thousands of years. Peace, Nari said quietly. Tell me, honored delegate, does your species have any colonies in the outer rim? The reptilian hesitated. No, and why not? Because it is too dangerous. Dangerous because species like the Kroth roam freely, hunting whoever they wish, Nari said. You call it peace. But it is not peace. It is just well-organized cowardice. You built a galaxy where you ignore screams in the dark, where you follow rules that let atrocities happen as long as they happen far away from you. You are out of order, the chairman warned. I am telling the truth, Nari replied. You want to punish us for saving lives. You want to condemn us for doing what you were too afraid to do. And why? Because we make you uncomfortable. Because we remind you of what you have become. Another delegate stood. This one was insectoid with compound eyes. But its voice was gentle. Not all of us condemn you, Ambassador. Some of us wish we had been brave enough to answer that call. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The chairman tried to restore order. The council must vote on sanctions against humanity, the chairman declared. Those in favor, wait, another voice interrupted. Elder Marith entered the chamber, moving slowly with a cane. Behind the Velhari elder, thousands of Velhari refugees filled the observation areas. This council debates whether to punish the species that saved us, Marith said. But I wonder if you understand what you are really debating. You are deciding whether saving lives is a crime, whether showing mercy is a violation, whether being brave is something to be punished. Marith approached the center platform. My species sent a distress call. We begged for help as our children were murdered. And every species in this council heard that call. Every single one. But only humans answered. The chamber fell silent. You want to know what humans are? Marith continued. I will tell you. They are the species who ran toward danger instead of away, who risked their lives for strangers, who showed mercy even to enemies who showed them none. They are the species who answered when others ignored us. Tears streamed down Marith's face. The Velhari will never forget. We offer humanity eternal friendship. And we tell this council that if you punish them for saving us, you prove that your laws value order over life, that your peace is built on the graves of those you chose not to help. The vote was called. It was closer than expected. Many species still voted to sanction humanity, but enough voted against. The motion failed. As Nari left the chamber, several ambassadors approached her quietly. My species has colonies in dangerous regions, one whispered. If we ever need help, would humans answer? Nari smiled sadly. If you call, we will come. Back on Earth, Deho stood in a garden watching Velhari children play. The refugees had been given land to build new homes. A new beginning. The children laughed as they ran through the grass, a sound that would have been impossible months ago. Hyeri found him there. You are retiring. Yes, Deho confirmed. Ghost Protocol is being officially disbanded. The war is over. But there will be others, Hyeri said. Other calls for help. I know, Deho replied. But I have fought enough. Now I want to help these people build. Help them heal. Someone else can fight the next war. Hyeri smiled. The others are moving on too. Minho is training the first Velhari Defense Force. Jiwan opened a medical center that treats all species. Even Sunwoo found peace. He is teaching reconnaissance to the next generation. And you? Deho asked. I am starting an institute, Hyeri said. Xenolinguistics. So we can understand other species better. So we never miss a call for help because we could not translate it. They stood in silence, watching the children play. So much had been lost. But so much had been saved. Months passed. The galaxy slowly adjusted to the new reality. Humanity had proven itself. Not as conquerors. Not as empire builders. But as protectors. As the species that answered when others called. Some species still feared humans. Others respected them. But all of them knew that the galaxy had changed. Young Ji-Hoon-Roo stood at attention in the recruitment center. He was barely 20 years old, but he had watched the broadcasts of Ghost Protocol's missions, had seen what they accomplished, and he wanted to be part of it. Ghost Protocol is disbanded, the recruiter told him. I know, Ji-Hoon replied. But there must be something. Some unit that does what they did. The recruiter studied him. There is a new initiative. The Terran Guardian Corps. They respond to distress calls across the galaxy. It is dangerous work. You could die in places where no one will remember your name. But people will live because I was there, Ji-Hoon said. That is enough. The recruiter smiled and handed him enlistment papers. The Terran Guardian Corps grew rapidly. Thousands volunteered. They were not soldiers seeking glory. They were people who believed that answering calls for help mattered more than following rules that protected Evil Dot in the command center that monitored galactic communications. Hyeri worked with her team. They listened for distress calls. For anyone crying out in the darkness of space, an alert sounded. A new signal. Faint. Desperate. from a region even farther than where the Volhari had been. Hyari translated it quickly. "Please, anyone. We are dying. Please help." She activated the emergency beacon. The same beacon that had sent Ghost Protocol to save the Volhari. The beacon that now meant something to every species in the galaxy. It meant that humanity was listening. It meant that the call would be answered. Across human space, Guardian ships received the signal. They changed course immediately, racing toward the source of the distress call. Not because they were ordered to, not because there was profit in it, but because someone needed help, and humans answered those calls. Deho received notification of the new mission. He was old now, retired, living peacefully among the Volhari he had saved. But he smiled when he heard the news. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Screams in the dark would no longer be ignored. Not while humans existed. Not while there were people willing to run toward danger instead of away from it. Elder Merith sat with him in the garden. "Another call for help." "Yes," Deho said. "Will you go?" "No," Deho replied. "My fighting days are over. But others will go. That is the legacy we built. Not an empire. Not a military power. But a promise." "What promise?" Merith asked. Deho looked at the stars above. Somewhere out there, someone was afraid. Someone was calling for help. And somewhere, humans were already on their way. "The promise that no one has to die alone in the darkness," he said. "The promise that if you call, someone will answer. That is what it means to be human." The beacon continued to pulse. A steady rhythm that echoed across the galaxy. A signal that meant hope. That meant help was coming, because humanity had made a choice. Not to be the strongest, not to be the smartest, but to be the species that cared. The species that answered Dot, and that made all the difference. The stars shone bright above the garden, and in the darkness between them, the beacon pulsed, waiting, listening, ready to answer the next call, because that was what humans did. They heard the screams, and they ran toward them.